Flashed across the medical horizon, dimethyl sulfoxide. It was touted as a pain reliever which would also work miracles on burns, on acne, even on spinal cord injuries, a kind of jack of all trades among drugs. The medical literature was full of stories about it, some of it pro-DMSO, but much of it con, skeptical, even derisive. The Journal of the American Medical Association editorialized against it, and the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, refused to okay it for general use, said it had never been proved effective. Nonetheless, 2 states, Oregon and Florida, have legalized it for prescription. And the black market in DMSO has become nationwide. That's how many Americans get it. Meantime, the puzzling story of DMSO continues. It is largely fueled by the efforts of one man, Dr. Stanley Jacob, an associate professor of surgery at the University of Oregon. For 15 years, this man, some would say this zealot, has been pushing DMSO because he believes so deeply, despite the doubters, in what DMSO can do.
Dr. Jacob, isn't a drug that has so many alleged uses, from arthritis to tennis elbow, from burns to spinal cord injuries, from mental retardation to baldness, isn't a drug like that automatically suspect?
No question. And I think that that's one of the reasons it's having problems. And if I had to do all over again, maybe the major mistake that I made, Mike, in the beginning was to tell it the way it was. I think if I would have said it was good for a sprained ankle, but only if the ankle sprain were on the left side, DMSO might be approved today.
Because its use is legal in Oregon, patients make the journey to Dr. Jacob's office there almost as if it were a domestic Lourdes. As we've seen, Dr. Jacob treats some of his patients topically for their bruises, their aches and pains. But some others of his patients, some of the most desperate, are young people left paralyzed from auto and motorcycle accidents. These he gives DMSO intravenously to relieve the pressure on their damaged brains, to reduce the swelling in the brain or spinal cord. And sometimes, apparently, he gets dramatic results.
I took the swelling out of the spine, and they told my husband on the phone that I would probably be in a chair. I'm paralyzed for the rest of my life. And so we're really excited with the results.
Another Oregonian transplanted to Georgia swears by DMSO. June Jones is second-string quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. Time was, he says, he could hardly raise his arm to throw a football. He says he'd be out of the game without DMSO.
My problem is in my shoulder, so the simple thing for me to do is I just put this on like this.
Just that much, about an inch worth.
I put about an inch worth, and I'll rub it all around the area, and I'll just leave it sit. Sometimes I put on a little bit more than that. And I'll just let it sit like that for anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes. And
boy, it smells already.
In fact, maybe in about 5 minutes I'll be able to taste it.
That's one small special characteristic of DMSO. It smells like garlic and tastes like oysters.
But if you took a big whack during a game, let's say, and it was black and blue, you'd rub it on.
Oh, yeah. I did this more when I play basketball in the off-season. Sometimes you get kneed in a Charlie horse.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, those things are painful for days.
Right.
I put it on right after, and I may not have any pain the next day at all.
Jones says several of his teammates use it too, but they wouldn't talk about it in public because talk of any drug, especially an illegal drug, is verboten in the NFL. Those who suffer chronic pain. Emily Rudick suffered searing, unrelenting pain from arthritis for years, and she could find no relief, she says, until DMSO. She'd no longer be playing the piano without it, she told us.
I have some very badly gnarled fingers from arthritis, and the DMSO eases the arthritis right away. It's not a miracle drug. It doesn't really cure it, but it eases it.
And it does other things for her, too.
I had a fever blister on my lip. I used DMSO 3 times, and the fever blister went away immediately. I've cut myself in the kitchen, and sometimes quite badly, and have used DMSO on it, and the cuts begin to heal right away.
How does DMSO work? What does it do inside your body that kills pain and helps healing? Dr. Jacob gave us a capsule understanding.
One is that it blocks certain types of nerve conduction. These are the fibers which produce pain. Second, it reduces inflammation or swelling. Third, it actually improves blood supply to an area of injury. Fourth, and this could be the key, in the test tube, in certain types of injury, it literally stimulates healing.
With dimethyl sulfoxide in musculoskeletal disorders, Journal of American Medical Association.
Yes.
Topical pharmacology and toxicology of DMSO, Journal of Medical Association. A double-blind clinical study, DMSO for acute injuries and inflammations, current therapeutic research.
Yes.
Treatment of erytitis and erythinitis with topical DMSO. An entire book on the subject of dimethyl sulfoxide by D. Martin and H.G. Hawthorne.
A fumigation technique that first caught the nation's attention during the anthrax attacks could be the answer to a lot of problems in Louisiana. Rusty Dornan shows us how the unique treatment is helping a lot of folks in New Orleans, including one of its most famous restaurants.
Try to clean things. So
it's growing in the Lombard house.
The mold grew about 4 or 5 feet here. It's black mold. They say it's really toxic, really bad.
It covered parts of Bob DeFelice's restaurant.
And if you look down here, you can kind of see the black mold kind of taking over the weaker mold.
As it has in thousands of homes on the Gulf Coast, like this one. Outside it looks relatively untouched, but inside there are heartaches and headaches for those trying to rebuild. Wes Alden, a local doctor, has 2 children who suffer from asthma.
You know, I was concerned that the house might not actually be livable when they came back.
We might be able to salvage those.
Like many, Bob DeFelice, owner of Pascal's Manali, a New Orleans restaurant institution dating back to 1913, was facing weeks of work, ripping out and rebuilding all his interior walls. That's the standard treatment. Then he heard about a gas fumigation system, a system that would sterilize his restaurant, every nook and cranny, without rebuilding.
Actually, we should come in over here.
The company, Sabre Technology, used the same gas to decontaminate Capitol Hill following the 2001 anthrax attacks. Turns out chlorine dioxide kills everything from termites to mold. Parts of this house were flooded with 8 feet of water.
Yeah, you can smell it. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yes.
Can you save a place like this?
Absolutely, absolutely. And structurally, most of these places were sound. They sat with water, and they were like incubators for uncontrolled mold growth. But these places did dry out, and particularly lath and plaster construction, very typical around here, remains hard even on the waterborne.
Back at the restaurant, DeFelice's employees were told they could bring any moldy items.
All the mold in the closet.
So we went along with sous chef Carmen Provenzano to grab some clothes at his wrecked home.
I'd rather take a chance and see if it can be saved.
Provenzano hung the clothes in the restaurant's closet. The building was then tented, and the gas pumped in. 12 hours later, the gas is gone, and we followed DeFelice into his restaurant.
This is incredible. I'm just totally blown away. Look at this wood here. I mean, that was just so dark before, and you can see all the grain.
What about Carmen Provenzano's clothes?
Everything's a little dirty still, just given the situation, but it's definitely clean. You can smell the difference. You can see the difference in there's no mold on anything.
Chlorine dioxide is a pesticide approved by the USDA for everything from purifying drinking water to keeping baby carrots from getting slimy. It costs about $8 per square foot to treat mold with chlorine dioxide, putting the price at under $40,000 for an average house. It won't repair water damage, but it does eradicate mold. And for Bob DeFelice,